Hello and welcome to Verdict 2015. Well, the Bihar election is hurtling to a finish. The fourth round yesterday witnessed an over 57% voter turnout. So what could this mean for the two rival camps? Well, we'll find out in our election special bulletin. Also, all other news and updates from poll-bound Bihar in the next half an hour. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Let us begin with the election headlines. Record polling in fourth phase of elections in Bihar. Over 57% voters exercised their franchise. High voltage campaigning continues for phase 5. PM Modi and Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi to hold 3 rallies today. Election Commission issues notices to Amit Shah, Rahul Gandhi and Lalu Yadav over remarks during rallies. EC says comments are violation of Model Code of Conduct. And we throw the spotlight on the Matsya Gandha lake in Saharsa. The lake has dried up and is fast becoming a forest. Well, the fourth phase of polling took place in Bihar on Sunday. Over 57% voter turnout was recorded in 55 constituencies that went to polls in this phase. Here are all the details.
The penultimate phase of elections in Bihar saw voters turning out in large numbers. Over 57% voting was recorded in the 55 constituencies on Sunday, the highest of the 4 phases. Polling was largely peaceful, barring a few minor incidents of violence.
Fourth phase of general elections to Legislative Assembly of Bihar passed off peacefully, barring few minor incidences. Average is 57.59. For last assembly election, it was 54.
Voters queued up at many polling stations even before they opened. As the day progressed, the pace picked up.
हमारा मुद्दा यही है कि लोगों को रोजगार मिले और विकास हो।
महिलाओं की सुरक्षा है कि वो चाहिए, बिजली है, पानी है, हर चीज की सुविधा चाहिए।
Enthusiastic first-time voters waited eagerly to exercise their voting right.
बहुत उत्सुक थी। कल से मैं सोच रही थी कि कौन से पार्टी के लिए वोट देना है। सिंस मैं यहाँ पे रहती नहीं, मैं स्पेशली वोट देने के लिए बिहार आई थी।
काफी उत्साहित है और उत्साह के साथ हम मतदान करने आए। सुबह से ही यहाँ पे आके लगे हुए, लगभग 1.5 घंटे से हम आके लाइन में लगे हुए।
The fourth phase covered 7 districts and was significantly the most crucial of the parties. In 2010, the BJP won 26 of the 55 seats, while the JDU emerged victorious in 24. Lalu Prasad's RJD won 2 seats. 3 seats went to independents. But the scenario changed this time. For the Grand Alliance, the RJD fielded candidates in 26 constituencies, followed by the JDU in 21 and the Congress 8. From the NDA, the BJP fielded its nominee in 42 seats, the LJP in 5 and the HAM and RLSP in 4 seats. With the completion of the fourth phase, voting has been completed in 186 seats. The final leg of polling will take place on 5th of November for the remaining 57 seats. Ravinder Shoran's report for Rajya Sabha Television.
All right, Mr. Shaibul Gupta, who's the member secretary with the ADRI, is now joining us live from Patna. Good morning, Mr. Gupta, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. Mr. Gupta, now close to 58% voter turnout in the fourth phase of elections. Now, BJP says its confidence levels are really high, but what is your assessment?
No, I think this is a very significant landmark in the history of Bihar. That the voter turnout is unprecedented.
Yes.
And again, the turnout of the women voters is also very significant. As of now, I mean, earlier the assessment was if there is a high voter turnout that goes against the existing government. I think that narrative has changed in recent period. Even in 2010, the higher voter turnout went in favor with the ruling party led by Nitish Kumar. I think this year also, this time also, the higher voter turnout will favor possibly the ruling party. But nevertheless, on the fourth round, historically, NDA is strong. And until unless NDA gets a decisive edge in this phase, they will not be in the reckoning finally in this election. So it is a matter of speculation whether they have done better or Mahagathbandhan has done better. But on the whole, on the basis of the turnout, one could say that it is advantage Nitish Kumar. I'm not very sure what is the macro trend in Bihar in the fourth round, but I think both the Gathbandhan as well as the NDA, they are poised for a very close finish.
Okay.
But on the fourth round, it is anecdotal. People are saying that possibly NDA has an advantage. But I think Mahagathbandhan has also surged forward very substantially in this round as well.
All right. It is very interesting you brought out the issue of women voters, because women voters have been out voting men in Bihar in the last 2 elections, not just in this assembly elections. So what does this mean for the two principal fronts competing for their support?
There are two explanations. One is standard explanation, because the men from Bihar have migrated, so the percentage of women voter is high. I don't think that is the main reason. Main reason is that in the last 10 years, under the leadership of Nitish Kumar, there has been a concerted effort to co-opt the women voters or women constituency into the mainstream. It started with 50% reservation in the Panchayati Raj institutions. They are now part of the governance. Earlier, the women Mukhia were considered to be a dummy. That is not the case now.
Okay.
No more the Mukhia Pati. Usually the husband used to play the role.
Yes.
That has been marginalized in the last 10 years. Then there are several things. For example, there is a woman battalion. There is a dedicated cycle program for the girl child.
Yes.
Number of scholarship has been given to the girl constituency in Bihar.
Yes.
So woman has been brought into the center stage. There is a dedicated woman battalion. Even Mahagathbandhan has promised that in case they win, they will give 35% reservation.
So we can attribute this to women empowerment, really.
Jobs.
Even as the fourth phase saw the most aggressive polling so far in all the 4 phases that have happened so far. Mr. Gupta, you stay with us. We'll just come back to you. Meanwhile, even as the 4th phase elections were taking place in the state, now political parties were making all-out efforts to reach out to the voters ahead of the final phase. The NDA had its star campaigner, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, addressing 2 key rallies. Take a look.
Campaigning for the 5th and final phase of elections in Bihar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed 2 rallies in Madhubani and Madhepura on Sunday. Reaching out to the youth, Modi said his hopes for a new Bihar rested on them.
मेरा भरोसा बिहार के नौजवानों पर है, मेरा भरोसा बिहार की माताओं पर है, मेरा भरोसा बिहार के किसानों पर है, मेरा भरोसा बिहार के गरीबों पर है, मेरा भरोसा बिहार के मजदूरों पर है, मेरा भरोसा बिहार के विकास के लिए मेहनत करने वाले, पसीना बहाने वाले मेरे सभी भाइयों बहनों पर है कि उनकी बदौलत बिहार आके बढ़ने रहने वाला है, बिहार ऊंचाइयों को पा करके रहने वाला है.
Continuing his tirade against the Grand Alliance, Modi said the state's prospects will be hurt if the Nitish Lalu combine came to power.
अब पहले जंगल राज था, अब तो उनको एक नया जुड़वा भाई मिल गया. जंगल राज को एक नया जुड़वा भाई मिल गया. जंगल राज और जंतर मंतर का राज, ये दोनों जुड़वा भाई इकट्ठे हो गए. अब तो कुछ बच सकता है क्या? इसलिए ये जंगल राज और जंतर मंतर का, ये दोनों राज को इकट्ठा मत होने दो, वरना तबाही के सिवा आपके नसीब कुछ नहीं आने वाला है भाई.
The Prime Minister also made fresh promises of development, assuring that his party has answers to the problems facing the state.
बिहार का मतलब है ब्रिलियंट, इनोवेटिव, हार्ड वर्किंग, एक्शन ओरिएंटेड, रिसोर्सफुल, BIHR. AR, ये ताकत है बिहार की। और भाइयों बहनों, यही ताकत के भरोसे मैं बिहार को हिंदुस्तान में नई ऊंचाइयों पर पहुंचाने का सपना देखता हूं और उन सपनों को पूरा करने के लिए विकास का मंत्र लेकर के आया।
Campaigning is on its last leg in the state. The final phase of voting will take place on the 5th of November. Counting of votes and declaration of results will be on the 8th of November. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now, with only one phase remaining for the Bihar elections, campaigning is hotting up really in the state. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be addressing 3 rallies today. Now, these rallies will be in Purnia, Forbesganj in Katihar district and Darbhanga. The Prime Minister held 2 rallies on Sunday at places going to polls on the final phase on 5th of November. On the other hand, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi also will be addressing 3 rallies today. Now, these rallies will be held in Araria, Purnia Amar and Katihar's Kohra. Now, campaigning for the final phase will end tomorrow. 57 constituencies in 9 districts will go to polls on 5th of November with a total of 827 candidates in the fray. Remember, counting of votes for the state polls will be held on 8th of November. All right, let's go back to Mr. Gupta. Mr. Gupta, now the 5th and the final phase is going to happen in Kosi and Simachal. Now, Grand Alliance is confident because this region has a good amount of Muslim population, a good amount of Yadav population. But do you think it is going to be really a cakewalk for the Mahagathbandhan?
Theoretically, yes, but it's not necessarily that will be the case, because one will have to wait, because this phase is a very crucial phase. Because of the Muslim concentration, there may be some sort of a counter-Hindu mobilization. One has to see to that. Secondly, you see, one of the problems, I mean, I was hearing Narendra Modi's speech which was being relayed. One of the problems that I think India is facing in the context of Bihar, because they are, of course, highlighting development agenda, and they want to steal the thunder of Nitish Kumar in the context of Bihar. Now, Nitish Kumar has tangible results to show what he has done in the last 10 years. One can criticize that it may not be enough. But nobody is disputing the fact that there has been a dramatic change in the context of development in Bihar, where in the context of Bihar, state was not a functioning state. Not only he resurrected the state, but he established the authority of the state. Now, when you have to when you want to dismantle the tangible result of development in the context of Bihar, that is a very difficult proposition. Normally what happens even in the context of NDA, that they are prognosticating what they will be doing. Even in the context of the central government, they don't have a very tangible results to show what they have done in the last 1.5 years. And even in future, they are saying that they will be able to do something. But they have to compete with the formidable contribution of Nitish Kumar in the context of Bihar, where he has been able to do tangible thing. He has built road, he has built bridges, and the most important thing in the recent period has been the availability of power, even in the rural area. There is people are saying that around 20-22 hours electricity is available. Now, this is a caste and a class neutral agenda in the context of Bihar, which has affected all sections of the population. So, in the context of Bihar, denying the achievement, tangible achievement of Nitish Kumar is a very difficult proposition.
All right, it is going to be really
in this
difficult.
Background,
yeah, it is going to be difficult for the NDA to actually...
Pardon?
Mr. Gupta, you stay with us. We'll just come back to you. Meanwhile, the Election Commission has issued show cause notices to BJP President Amit Shah, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi and RJD Chief Lalu Prasad over their comments during various rallies in the state. Now, the Election Commission show cause to Shah was over his comment that if the BJP loses in Bihar, crackers will go off in Pakistan. The Commission said that prima facie, the statement has the potential of disturbing harmony and aggravating the existing differences between social and religious communities. Now, Shah has time till 3 p.m. on 4th of November to explain his stand. Show cause notices have also been issued to Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi and RJD Chief Lalu Yadav. The EC notice to Rahul is for the comment wherein he had said that the BJP makes Hindus and Muslims fight each other. And the notice to Lalu Yadav is for his reported remarks dubbing BJP Chief Amit Shah as a cannibal and that he has gone mad. The EC also referred to Lalu's reported remarks against Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in which he was described as a vampire. The two have been given time till 4th of November to file their replies.
इलेक्शन कमीशन से सर आपको शाह को और राहुल गांधी को नोटिस मिला है भाषण करने
जवाब देंगे 4 दिन पहले जवाब दे देंगे।
अमित शाह ने जो कुछ बोला है ठीक बोला है, गलत बोला है उन पे ठीक आपने नोटिस दिया है, लेकिन राहुल गांधी ने क्या गलत किया है? कौन सा बयान गलत दिया है? अगर कहा है कि देश के अंदर इनटॉलरेंस बढ़ रहा है तो इस पे आप नोटिस जारी करेंगे?
पहली बार देश के किसी प्रधानमंत्री को मॉडल कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट का वायलेशन करने के आरोप में नोटिस दिया गया है, जो शर्मनाक है। बड़े पदों पर बैठे हुए लोग भी अगर व्यक्ति कानूनों का पालन नहीं करेंगे तो इससे समूचे देश में एक गलत संदेश जाएगा।
All right, let's go back to Mr. Gupta. Mr. Gupta, now the fourth phase of campaigning that we saw is basically here the rival camps are accusing each other of trying to polarize voters on communal lines, and on just one day, Election Commission has issued notice to Amit Shah, Rahul Gandhi, Lalu Yadav. Don't you feel that this language really used in these polls has hit a new low in the past few weeks?
No, I completely agree with you that the level of acrimony which is being witnessed in this election is unprecedented. All the political leaders of different political parties, they have been, in earlier elections, they have kept certain benchmarks, certain level. But in this election, I think it has crossed all benchmarks. And especially this statement that if in case BJP loses in Bihar,
yes,
the firecrackers will burst in Pakistan.
Yes,
I think this is primarily to communalize the electorate, because in the fourth phase election and especially in the fifth phase election, which is a very sensitive election,
yes,
with the maximum concentration of the minorities in some of the districts, these statements should have been avoided, because until unless there is a ethno-religious mobilization on the basis of this type of statement, the possibility of NDA getting a decisive edge appears to be limited, because you see, one has to sell something to garner the vote. Even if you are selling the developmental card, one will have to show concretely what development has been achieved by the central government. In the context of Bihar, there is a tangible achievement. Whether you criticize that it is not enough, there could have been more, that is a different matter. But they have a tangible achievement. So in this backdrop, yes, instead of concentrating on the developmental agenda, which is no doubt very important, one should not try to communalize the electorate by shooting off certain statement, which is not good for the social tranquility, yes, in a place like Bihar. And Bihar has been, yes, witnessing broadly a social tranquility, a communal free, yes, atmosphere. In this background, imposing this type of thing is not good.
Yes, an election commission will have its task really cut out, because The fifth phase of election is going to take place in Kosi area, Simachal area. These are considered very sensitive areas. Thank you so much, Mr. Gupta, for joining us this morning and sharing your perspective on that story. And with this, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more election news. Stay with us.
Tradition dating back centuries. A cultural heritage that inspires and warms at once. Magic that awes. Rajya Sabha Television brings you events that embrace wonders of India's classical arts. Conversations with the biggest names in the culture and music. Rajya Sabha Television, democracy at work.
Welcome back. And as we were discussing just before the break about the falling standards of discourse in Bihar elections, and Ghulam Nabi Azad has also spoken out on this issue. While speaking to our correspondent, Ghulam Nabi Azad accused the BJP of lowering the campaign language to polarize voters. Let's take a listen.
We have with us senior Congress leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha and Congress's star campaigner in Bihar, Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad with us. Sir, thank you for speaking to us. First and foremost question which comes to mind is that though both the alliances have time and again, the leaders have been claiming that the main issue, the main poll plank is the issue of development. But despite that, we have been witnessing a number of statements coming in from both sides, some relevant, some irrelevant. Most of them rather seems to be irrelevant to the issue of development, be it the statement of reservation, the statement of celebrations in Pakistan, and then retorts from your side. So is this something which could have been avoided?
Well, let me speak for myself. I have been here maybe for the last now almost 3 weeks. I've been coming and going, and maybe I've spent more than 18, 19 days in different parts of the state. And my speech, almost 95% is on the development.
Why do you think was there need for the comments like the one made by Mr. Amit Shah, the BJP president, on celebrations in Pakistan? Do you think they were made with an intent, or was it just an oversight?
Yeah, I think you have put a very straight and very apt question. The question is that in the beginning they have been talking about the growth and development, and maybe Honorable Prime Minister had not visited that much earlier, aerially, the part of the Bihar, and also Amit Shah maybe coming for the first time to Bihar. So they talked about the development, but when they saw from the aircraft, if you are just going different parts of the state, you will find 2-lane, 3-lane, 4-lane, 6-lane, 8-lane roads. You will find big towers. You will find everything. Almost each village connected with the road, and each village having power, and then network of roads of all types. So they were given up that idea, and now they wanted to polarize in the name of the religion.
How important do you think this particular election for the Congress would be? You're fighting on 40 seats.
Well, we are fighting on 41 seats, and well, this entire election is very important for the people of the Bihar, the entire Gathbandhan, because a lot of work has been done and a lot of emphasis has been laid on the development during the Nitish period. And we have been working separately, Nitish Kumar and we from the center. Maybe we didn't have much role as a state party, but as a national party, all those national schemes which were meant for the entire country, and there was emphasis in this and very nicely implemented in this part of the country. So if we again come into the power and the Congress will be part of the government, I am sure that that will provide an opportunity to strengthen the organization.
And let's move on in the bulletin now. Well, Purnia district in southeastern Bihar, comprising 7 Vidhan Sabha constituencies, was once known for its industrial as well as educational prowess. But today it is among the state's most backward areas. The 7 assembly segments have a mix of MLAs from both alliances, with the expectations of strong anti-incumbency when polling takes place here in the last phase on 5th of November.
Legend mentions the region as the spiritual home of Mata Puran Devi, hence its name Purnia. Purnia's identity was once its galaxy of literary giants and its prowess as a centre of learning. That aura has long faded. Agriculturally, the place had once been recognized for its bumper jute production. That too is on the verge of dying out completely. Today, despite its status as a division headquarter, Purnia is listed among the most backward areas of Bihar. Crumbling infrastructure and zero development here means migration. For many, arising out of a desperate state of affairs is at an all-time high. This sugar mill is Banmanki area, shut down 25 years ago for want of funds. Every election season, it comes into focus amid promises from politicians of reviving its fortunes and that of the people of the region. Purnia comprises 7 assembly segments: Purnia Sadar, Banmanki, Amor with BJP MLAs, Thamdaha and Ropali with JDU representatives, Kasba with a Congress MLA, and Bayasi with the RJD. All these constituencies of Purnia district go to polls in the 5th and final phase on the 5th of November. A strong anti-incumbency factor among the electorate stands out, even amid tall promises from the political parties. For years, Purnia has seen only promises, elections raising hope of actual work on the ground. And they can only hope that it will be different this time. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, nearly 2 decades ago, the 2-kilometer-long Matsya Lake was dug out in Saharsa at a considerable cost. Today, it has dried up and become a forest. Surprisingly, when the Chief Minister toured the place in 2011, he not only declared this lake to be in good health, but also announced plans to make it a national-level attraction. The voters are now seeking an explanation.
This is the face of Saharsa's Matsya Lake today, completed in 1997. It was inaugurated by former Bihar Chief Minister Lalu Prasad. Although it's hard to believe it now, in the initial days the lake attracted tourists from adjoining areas and even neighbouring Nepal. Less than 10 years later, the broken boats became a regular sight here. The rainwater that fills up the lake evaporates in no time in the summer heat.
घूमने के लिए आए थे, सोचे यहाँ मत्स्यगंधा बहुत अच्छा जगह है घूमने वाला। यहाँ आने के बाद तो देख रहे हैं कुछ भी घूमने वाला नहीं है, तो पूरा खंडर बन गया है।
प्रशासन, सरकार जितने भी आए, चाहे केंद्र का हो चाहे राज्य का हो, सबने सहरसा के लोगों को ठगा है।
The BJP blames a lack of will on the part of the government for the state of affairs. Local authorities have their own set of explanations.
इसके लिए दोषी हम लोग हैं, जो शहर के सौंदर्यीकरण के लिए शहर कैसे विकास करे, कैसे आंध्रा से मछली नहीं है हम यहाँ पे उसका उत्पादन करें।
मैं भी जिला प्रशासन के निगाह में इसको अवश्य लाऊंगा और प्रयास करूंगा यथाशीघ्र इस पर यथोचित कार्रवाई करते हुए मत्स्यगंधा झील को का सौंदर्यीकरण का कार्य पूर्ण किया जा सके।
Elections are a time when old problems are subjected to a fresh review. Voters of Saharsa expect that is what our next government will do to bring back their lake of life. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
That is all in this edition of Verdict 2015. Also watch our afternoon election bulletin at 1 p.m. News and updates continue on your channel. Thanks for watching.